Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is a duo hot tent overnighter. I've got my setup here, and as you can see, Mike in the background, he's got his stuff all set up. Now, there are some details we do want to cover in this trip because this is actually night number 2.
Yep.
So last night we camped in a different location. I did a hot truck setup with my camper, and Mike actually attempted to sleep in his hot tent, but it was way too windy, and that tent was like a giant kite. Now, one really important thing is Mike is, basically this is his first time. We unwrapped this tent yesterday, brand new, out of the plastic packaging. And his stovepipe, if you guys notice, my stovepipe's got some nice patina to it. His does not. So we just finished rolling his pipe for the very first time. It is a 3-meter pipe, and it was an absolute nightmare. And we don't recommend ever doing that. Now, Mike actually grabbed the wrong pipe by mistake. And, well, we had to make it work. So we ended up cutting about 2 feet.
Yeah, about 2 feet.
We cut 2 feet off the end of it, rolled it, and it's looking good right now. He's going to get the first burn in it this evening, and then it'll be good after that. So we're going to cover more details a little later on during this video. But we just wanted to say that we're out here. We're doing a duo hot tent. Everything's set up, and we even got lucky because right over behind Mike, the last people that were here left some firewood. So we're going to get to work cutting that up, splitting it up, get our tent stocked full of wood for this evening. All right, guys, we've got hot coffee on the go right now. We've lit the outdoor fire, and we don't need the fire, so I just want to explain this for a minute. We have 2 wood stoves with us. I have a wood stove in my tent. Mike has his wood stove. But we also don't want to be wasting time cutting wood all day. So we've cut and split all the wood we need in our stoves for tonight. And we have a bunch of wood over here by Mike, some of the stuff that was left here from previous campers, and some larger stuff that's still scattered around here that we're going to burn in the outside fire, because we do want to lounge around outside if the weather permits. So we just lit this fire now, just enough to kind of get the kettle over the fire, make some coffee, and we've got it on the go right now. So we're going to try and let this fire smolder all afternoon, and then just load it up with wood in the evening to have some light and basically have a campfire vibe. So we're going to enjoy our coffee for a little bit. I did bring 1 bottle of water. Mike also brought a bottle of water, but we don't have any other water source here other than the lake, which is about, I don't know, about 200 yards down the road.
Yeah, something like
so
that.
there's an old off-road trail, like a 4x4 trail that goes down to the lake. And we're gonna have to walk down there. I'm gonna fill up my pot and my kettle, bring it back up here, boil it over the fire, process it up, and that way we'll have clean drinking water for later on. One other thing I do want to mention is, this is funny. So this is going to take a moment. Let me move the camera in closer, and I'm just going to get something to sit on because we need to explain what happened yesterday. All right, so I've got a nice log chair kind of thing going on. We didn't bring any kind of seating, so we expected this area to still have some stumps here from previous visits. They're gone. Someone probably threw them in the fire, burned them up. But we just want to explain what happened yesterday, because this is night number 2. And like I was explaining earlier on, Mike tried to get his big hot tent set up yesterday, and my intentions were to sleep in the truck. And then this night, we were actually going to branch off, and I was going to drop him off somewhere in the truck, and he was going to do a video for his YouTube channel, and I was going to drive to another location, and then I was going to hike in from there and do my video, and then we were going to rendezvous at a meet time. I was going to pick him up on the way out. Well, yesterday, it was extremely windy and rainy. If you guys haven't seen that video, go back and check it out. But his tent, it was not good. It was not a good situation.
Wasn't happening.
The wind took it, and we ended up just packing it down and said, you know what, let's get it in the truck. And he had another backpack because we had planned on doing 2 nights. So he then took his freestanding tent, set that up, and stayed the night in that. And then we kind of discussed it late last night. We said, you know what, I know a spot that's sheltered, even if it is windy. We can get that tent set up here. And I already intended on using this tent tonight. So we just said, you know what, why not, let's just do a duo hot tent trip and park the truck off in the distance, hike into this location. And all in all, I gotta say it's pretty good. Now we don't have a lake front view from where we're sitting because we wanted to be sheltered from the wind that was supposed to be here. It is not windy today, so realistically we should have been here yesterday and then there today.
Yeah.
But you can't plan for that kind of stuff.
No,
So that's the deal with today. Everything should work out. His tent's looking really great. He is going to film a little bit of an update for his channel.
Yeah.
So you guys go over to his channel, East Coast Wild Camping. I'll put the link in the description so you guys can go on over and hear his side of the story and have a look at his tent. I'll show you guys his setup in this video, but he's going to upload something on his channel as well. So you guys can go over and have a look at that. All in all, though, I think we're just going to relax for a little bit. I just wanted to share that story with you because it was kind of funny.
Yeah, it was.
We were out there, the tent just all over the place, and at one point I said, geez, Mike, your tent's looking more like a kite.
Yeah.
And at that point, the pegs ripped out of the ground, and we said, okay, enough of that. Let's just pack it away, put it in the truck, reset. We'll stay here for the night, and so on. So go ahead and check out that video on my channel last night, which will be uploaded before this, obviously. So, and yeah, any questions or comments on that, drop it down in the comment section to that video. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And Mike may touch on last night's experience on his channel, which he's going to film in a few moments. But we're going to relax, drink some coffee, and then we're going to carry on with the day. And we do have to make it down to the lake, so hopefully we'll get a nice view of that before the rain, if it does rain, and collect our water for the evening. And then we're just going to kind of fart around camp and prepare for the evening. All right, guys, we're down here at the edge of the lake, and I've got my kettle full of water. Mike's got his water collected, and this is basically the only view of the lake area that we have. Is just this walk down this 4x4 road, and we've got quite an interesting view, but it's not very much. So we're not going to be hanging out down here too much. We're just going to come down, collect our water, back up the camp. If we do need to come back down later on this evening, this is exactly where we're going to go. But pretty interesting area, nice spot to kind of sit down on the rocks and whatnot. We don't have any fishing gear with us, so that's out of the question today, but it is still a resource for us to use, and that's what we're going to continue to do. Boil up our water and put it inside of our bottles, and we'll have water for later on this evening. All right, guys, supper time is all done, and as you can see, night falls here. We've got a starry sky up top. There are no clouds up there. It's not totally dark out yet, so we've probably another 20-30 minutes before it's really dark. But we're all done with supper. We've cooked and cleaned, and we've got the fire stoked up right now. Feel some warmth coming. Mike's tent is probably out of frame right now, but my tent behind me, you guys can still, the wood stove is burning very low. And the same with Mike. He's got his stove damped down very low. And the reason why we lit them early was because the wood that we have is somewhat wet. So we've got kind of wood all around each other's wood stove and basically drying out wood. So by the time we go in the tent, we load wood in and it'll be good to burn. We won't have to worry with that snuffing out phase and smoldering and whatnot. So we're going to avoid that tonight, but we are going to chill out in front of the fire for probably an hour, 2 hours, and then hit the tents and probably movie night for me. I know you probably got a movie.
Yeah, I got a movie or two I can...
So you've got plenty of room. He's got plenty of room in his tent. He can do aerobics, gymnastics. He can do all kinds of things in there.
I might try my yoga.
I'm just going to lay down in mine and pop a couple logs in the stove and watch some Netflix and just basically chill out and hopefully have a nice crispy morning. That's what I'm looking for. A nice cold morning.
It's feeling like it.
Yeah, and get some hot coffee on the go and start a nice slow morning that way. But I just wanted to give you guys an update. Supper was good. Everything's cleaned up. Campfire mode. Wood stoves are a go. And we're going to relax and talk about our day amongst ourselves. And I'll catch up with you guys inside of the tent in a little while. Okay, guys, we're still sitting around the campfire. We haven't come into the tents just yet, but I remembered that I did tell you guys I was going to come in here and show you guys what Mike's got going on for setup. So he's got the Hussar Plus tent. This tent is a 6-person tent in comparison to mine, so he's got all kinds of space. Now, this is a tent that I used on my channel probably about 2 weeks ago, and I had a big steel stove in it, and it was absolutely awesome. So I had the mesh inner installed. This is a good look at what it looks like without the mesh inner. So Mike's just going to be sleeping with a little ground sheet that he's got here. This is like a bathtub ground sheet. He's then got his sleeping pad, his top quilt blanket area. He's got probably about 4 or 5 feet on the other side. And he's got loads of room in here. So he's running a larger stove than me. This is a T-brick. And we had kind of a mishap today. So he brought a chimney pipe out that was never burned in before. And it was too long for the tent, first of all. So we ended up cutting off about 2 feet worth of material. We rolled this pipe with no form right out here in the woods. It was a nightmare, but we got it rolled pretty decent. I'm actually surprised that it's as good as it is. And then we had the idea of him putting 2 tent pegs in the ground and putting the leftover titanium here. And he's going to recycle this for a heat shield for his canister stove like I've done, or other various projects. Now, what this is going to do for him, right now he has one side glass window closest to me on the side, but where we have just started kind of burning our wood and some of this wood's wet and whatnot, his side window is blackened right now. And about an hour after it's been burning really steadily, that window will clean itself front to back, and this will reflect a ton of light back up here in this area, as opposed to going directly into his face, because the head ends up here. So he won't be blinded by the stove light, which would be nice to be able to sleep without the light flickering in your face. It'll push the light around the tent and really light up the tent for him. So this is a look at his setup. I'll take you guys over to my tent, show you mine really quickly. It's a lot smaller, and I've got a smaller stove set up. So this is what Mike's got going on here, and he looks like he's very comfortable in here. He's got a little kitchen area to cook, wood storage area, backpack over there by him. And all in all, it's looking really good. So let's head over to my tent. I'll show you guys that, and then I'm going to shut the camera off until I crawl in there for the end of the night. All right, guys, so coming inside of my tent, you'll notice that it is significantly smaller. So I love the size of 1- and 2-person teepee shelters. Personally, this is my go-to tent. They're very fast to set up, they're very easy to set up, and they're small and packable and light, and the list goes on. But what I did today is I did end up bringing my mesh inner. So I've got this separated in half. I decided to put it across as opposed to back here. This way I can have this whole front area open. And what I mean by that is the mesh inner is actually rotatable. So instead of having the door looking at the stove, the front door, I can actually sit inside of my mesh inner right here and have the front door looking at the side of the stove. Now it's very kind of finicky doing that because it puts it really close to the stove, so you got to watch it a lot. Today, it's just, this is the setup that I wanted to go with. So I am rocking my signature edition Timberwolf titanium wood stove, Lone Wolf 902 edition. So I've got this going right now. I brought my stove with 3 glass windows. So I've got 2 side glass windows and 1 in the front. So this is gonna light up really nicely later on this evening. And basically I've got a load of firewood in here. So I've got all kinds of wood. I've got rounds, I've got split wood. I've got wood all over the place, just kind of drying out some of the split stuff, which is almost dry. And my backpack in the back. I've got my cooking kit up in the front with some leather gloves, which are very important. I love leather gloves inside of hot tents because you always get little burns on your hands and whatnot when you're just kind of moving around in the dark. So I've got those over there. Inside of my mesh inner, I don't know how well I can show this off right now. Probably not that great. I do have my top quilt in here. I've got my sleeping pad. I did bring a battery bank, and that's the cable you're seeing right here going up to my little light bulb light. So this is a very large opening door. I'm most likely gonna open this all the way up and tie it back while I'm in here kind of lounging a little later on this evening, watching a movie, having a few snacks. I got a bottle of water in here that I've already boiled up and sterilized from the lake. So I'll leave this open while I'm lounging, and then later on tonight, I'll probably load in a couple of these nice dense hardwood logs. 1 or 2 of those in there, damp the stove down, and then roll over and go to sleep. So I just wanted to show you guys the inside of both tents. I didn't get to do it during the daytime. I figured why not do it right now and show you guys a little bit of what we've got going on, because hot tent season is around the corner. It's basically here in our area, and there's a lot of people getting involved in hot tenting. So I figured he's got a very contrasting setup to mine, big, large, and this one's kind of small and compact. I love this personally. I really do enjoy this, but I also love bringing my larger tents out on different trips when I have different needs. So that's the 2 setups. We're gonna go back to the campfire and relax, and I'll see you guys in here when it's time to go to bed. All right, guys, so I'm inside of the tent now. Mike's inside of his tent. We've been kind of lounging out in front of the campfire for a while, and it's that time to basically crawl in. So it is very warm in here. I got the stove cranked max, so the damper in the draft is wide open. I'm trying to burn out some of that wet wood that's in there. And everything else that I've got has basically dried out from being inside of the tent. And I've got a couple pieces underneath of the stove. Those are the last 2 pieces that are damp. Everything else, I mean, I've got a massive pile on the other side of the stove. It's kind of tricky for you guys to see, but I've got all kinds of wood over here that is totally dry. And I'm just gonna be feeding 1 or 2 in at a time, get it damped down to a nice comfort temperature. So just before I came inside, I went around the tent with the headlamp, and it is cold outside. We have no clouds, a total sky full of stars, and the outside of the tent is actually wet, right down what I like to call as the frost ring, right out of the heat channel. So all the heat rises, and usually about a foot or 2 from the ground up is where you'll kind of have your cold spot. On the outside of the tent, it is all wet and they're water droplets. So who knows, we might even get frost tonight. I think it's a little too early, but we might get it, who knows. So just looking around the tent, making sure everything is nice and tight and secure. The chimney pipe is safe tonight. There's no winds and anything like that. So always coming into hot tent season, the first or second trip, it's always nice to kind of reacquaint yourself with what you're doing and really make sure that you've got all the boxes checked and whatnot for safety. So I'm going to be getting my shoes inside the mesh inner as I usually do. I don't like any bugs and nastiness kind of crawling in my shoes, chipmunks and mice and all that stuff. So I'm going to get all my shoes and everything I need inside the mesh inner, get all the stuff out of the mesh inner that I don't need. Going to get changed into some pajamas and get out of these heavy clothes because it is very warm in here, and basically start relaxing and watch a movie. Good morning, guys. It is a beautiful, quiet morning out here in the forest. We do have a couple of four-wheelers driving around way off in the distance the last half hour or so. So if you guys hear any background noise, it is coming into hunting season, and these woods are starting to get a little bit more busy with people kind of checking their hunting spots and whatnot. So hence the bright orange t-shirt that I chose to wear today. So I'm up, Mike is up, we both lit our stoves, and I heard his stove crackling away this morning. Mine was crackling away. It is basically burned out now. I've already done coffee and oatmeal. Mike has done his breakfast routine, and I've got changed, and we're actually starting to pack up in a little bit. So I'm going to continue with my pack up process. I would like to get the inner tent out, my sleeping pad, my top quilt, get all that stuff out, get it packed down. And then I'm going to get the stove out, dump it out in the outdoor fire pit because that's nice and contained. I believe Mike's going to be doing the same thing. Set those off to the side, let them cool down, continue with packing. And once we get to that stage, then we're going to recap on what we did last night, let you guys know how the night went, and take it from there. Okay guys, everything's packed up. Camp is totally broke down. Backpacks are full and ready to go. So last night, my tent got hot and I ended up damping it way down. I actually have a ton of firewood left over. I've stashed it in the woods for possibly a future trip. When I come back here, I can go and get it and reuse the wood. Mike, I heard him sweating like crazy. I could hear his stove just roaring.
Oh yeah.
And talking to him today, he said it was way too hot in there. So
Yeah, I was sweating until like 2 in the morning.
yeah, definitely hot. I was warm. I damped mine way down and I snuffed it out probably at about midnight, and then I lit it again this morning. So all in all, everything went really well. We had a great time. Like I said yesterday, if you guys are interested in seeing night number 1 of this 2-night adventure, check out that video. I'll link it down in the comments and in the video description so you guys can see how night 1 went. This was night 2. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in and watching. Peace out, and I'll see you in the next video.